Have you ever really stopped to think about how different your family is compared to, say, your grandparents' generation? I bet for a lot of you, it's a whole lot smaller. Well, today, we're going to dig into why that is. We're diving headfirst into one of the fastest, most profound social changes in all of human history, this incredible global drop in birth rates. And trust me, it's a story that affects every single one of us. Okay, let's put some real numbers on this to see what we're talking about. Back in 1965, the average woman on this planet had about 5 kids. 5! Now, fast forward to today, that number has been cut by more than half, down to just 2.4. I mean, that is a massive, staggering change in such a short period of time. And we're not talking about some slow, centuries-long crawl here. Nope, the entire structure of the global family has been completely reshaped, totally transformed, all within the span of a single lifetime. The speed of this change, it's just absolutely unprecedented in our history. So, of course, this leads us to the million-dollar question. Why? What in the world is behind this massive global shift? It's a really fascinating puzzle, and you know what? As we're about to see, the answers are actually surprisingly positive.
All right, let's start digging into the clues. And the first one, well, it's a big one. It's nothing short of a revolution in the lives and opportunities for women.
So a key idea here is something economists call opportunity cost. It's pretty simple, really. As women get more access to education, to careers, the trade-offs for having children just get bigger. Choosing to raise a child might mean putting a career on hold, or giving up a certain salary, or shelving other personal goals. The cost of that missed opportunity goes way up.
And the connection here is just crystal clear. Think of it like a seesaw. On one end, you pile on more education and more career opportunities for women, and what happens? The other end of the seesaw, family size, goes right down. As one goes up, the other goes down. It's honestly one of the strongest, most consistent patterns you'll find anywhere in social science.
And hey, this isn't just some abstract theory. We see it playing out in the real world, again and again. Just take Iran as a case study. Look at these numbers. They're incredible. In 1950, the average woman had less than half a year of school, and the fertility rate was around 7 kids. By 2020, the average schooling shot up to 9 years, and the fertility rate, it plummeted to below 2. That is about as direct and powerful a link as you can. And what's really interesting is that this creates this powerful feedback loop. You see, smaller families make it possible for more women to enter the workforce. And then, more women in the workforce reinforces all the reasons to have smaller families in the first place. It becomes this self-perpetuating cycle of empowerment and demographic change, just spinning forward. Okay, so let's move on to our second big clue. This one is a story about health, about survival, and about a fundamental change in how parents even think about building a family.
The main concept here is what's known as the demographic transition. And here's the best way to think about it. For basically all of human history, life was incredibly fragile. Families had to have a lot of babies because, tragically, many just wouldn't make it to adulthood. But now we've finally managed to break that heartbreaking historical cycle.
So how does this transition actually work? Well, it happens in a few steps. First, you've got a world with high child mortality. Parents have more kids almost as a form of insurance. Then, step 2, health and medicine get way better, and child mortality drops like a rock. But, and this is key, there's a time lag. It takes a generation or so for the culture to catch up, for parents to truly realize, hey, our kids are going to survive. And once that new reality sinks in, well, family plans change. People realize they don't need to have as many children to build the family they want. And this chart just lays out the big picture perfectly. High child mortality, it goes hand in hand with high fertility. When one number is high, the other is high. But as one falls, the other follows right behind it. And here's the most important takeaway from this. Falling birth rates are a direct result of one of humanity's greatest ever achievements, saving the lives of our children. And that brings us to our third and final piece of the puzzle. This one is all about money and the completely new economics of what it takes to raise a kid in the 21st century. See, in the modern world, parents face a really fundamental choice. It's often called the quantity versus quality trade-off. Do you go for quantity, have more children, but invest a little less in each one? Or do you go for quality, have fewer children, but pour every resource you can into their education and future? And the overwhelming trend is that parents are choosing quality. So why is quality the clear winner in modern economies? Well, it boils down to a few key things. For one, child labor is pretty much gone. Kids aren't economic assets anymore. 2, A solid education is now seen as the single most important ticket to a good life. And 3, because kids are so much more likely to survive to adulthood, investing heavily in their education is just a much safer bet for parents. It makes perfect sense.
Now, obviously, these 3 huge drivers we've talked about, they aren't the entire story. There are a few other important factors that are also at play here, helping to complete the picture.
So you might be thinking, what about things like China's one-child policy? A lot of people point to that as the main reason. But the data tells a really different story. China's fertility rate was already dropping like a stone before that policy ever came into effect. And if you look at nearby Taiwan, which never had a policy like that, they saw an almost identical dramatic drop. What that tells us is that it's the broader story of development, not government force, that's the real driver here.
So when you put it all together, you see it's really a mix of forces. Our 3 big clues, women's empowerment, better child health, and the new economics of parenting, they're the biggest pieces of the pie, for sure. But other things, like shifting cultural norms, and of course, better access to contraception, they absolutely play a crucial role in shaping the modern family too.
So, when you step back and look at all the evidence, the conclusion is pretty clear, and it's really powerful. This global move to smaller families, it isn't a story about collapse or decline. It's actually a natural, emergent property of human progress. It's the result of good things, empowering women, keeping children healthy, and building stronger economies. It's a success story.
But this leaves us with one last, really fascinating question to think about. We've sort of assumed this whole time that more development automatically means fewer babies. But what if that's not the end of the story? What if the trend isn't a straight line down? Some new research is starting to suggest that at extremely high levels of development, the trend might actually tick back up again. Is it possible that a society that's incredibly wealthy and supportive could actually make people want to have more kids? The future of the family, well, it just might be a lot more surprising than any of us think.